everyone, how are you guys doing today? Today we are going to discuss a dupe or a copy of the brand new Huda Beauty Nude Palette. This is the perfect palette by Beauty Glazed, and Courtney KH, who is also a small YouTuber like me, recently shared a video about this particular palette. The Huda Nude Palette is the latest among Huda Beauty's 18 pan palettes and retails for $65. And me, being the color lover that I am, of course, wasn't really interested in it until I went to Sephora with my friend Owen, also known as Anime Girl 8792 on YouTube, and I swatched the shimmers in it and I was blown away. Okay, guys, those shimmers are something else. They look like they could be glitters in the palette, but when you swatch them, they are not. They are like a chunkier shimmer and they look beautiful and smooth. And ever since then, that palette has been sitting in my Sephora cart while I have been debating about the $65 and whether, the color story kind of justifies that palette or not. But when Courtney talked about this Beauty Glazed palette, which retails for $10, ships for free with Amazon Prime and arrives within 2 days, yeah, I ordered it before I even realized it. Okay, and it arrived 2 days ago. Sadly, the prettiest shade in the palette arrived broken, but I was able to press it down. It's this beautiful shadow called Blink. It seems to be a chunkier shimmer similar to what is in the Huda Beauty Nude palette. So that is exciting, but at the same time, the chunks are kind of everywhere. And they have even gotten into this cream product, which kind of has been my issue with the concealer being in the same palette with respect to the actual nude palette as well. So, the palette arriving shattered kind of proved the point to me that it's a bad idea to have a cream product in the same palette. Everyone mentions that, but I don't know why companies still continue to do that. Huda hasn't done that in any of her previous palettes, so I don't know why she did that with the nudes palette. I don't know if it's supposed to be kind of a palette for makeup artists to go to, someone's wedding and just be able to do the look. Maybe that was the thought behind it. However, I don't like the idea. As you can see, how the pigments have already gotten into this concealer, and yeah, I don't know how good it's going to stay a few months down the line. Anyways, let me kind of clean up this mess and we will try to create a look with this palette, do swatches of the palette and see, if it's worth the $10 or if it was complete waste of time and money. Okay, give me a second. So this is what the palette looks like next to the Huda New Nudes palette. Just color-wise, I feel like they look really, really, really similar. The shades of the shadows look very, very close. So in that sense, I feel like Beauty Glazed has done good. The concealer, just from the pictures, looks a tad bit less bright compared to the nudes palette, but let's see how it performs and we'll go from there. Of course, I've done the rest of my makeup. I've taken a little bit of concealer over my lids, but not more than that. So let's see how this palette performs. Okay, I'm going to start with the concealer. I'm just going to pick it up with my index, with my, what is this, ring finger. It looks kind of chunky. Ooh, it's pretty pigmented, I would say. And once it is spread, it has slightly powdery consistency. I was worried that similar to some concealers or color correctors I have tried in the past, even some from higher end brands, I was afraid that it's gonna, have like a sticky, oily kind of a consistency. It does not seem to, and it seems to be quite pigmented, surprisingly. Just gonna pick up the brush and kind of blend that out. It has slight tackiness to it. I'm gonna take khaki and very, very lightly set it because I'm afraid if it's too tacky, it could lead to issues. Nowadays, I have gotten into not setting my eyeshadow primers because I feel like that takes away from the pigmentation. All right, let's pick up Peachy. Man, these colors look so similar to the actual palette, except maybe, Scarlet and Drake might be a tinge less red and more muted than it is in the nudes palette. That's the feeling I get. Pigmentation seems decent. It didn't go like pow on my lid, but it's not bad. I'm not having any kick up in the pan, which is a plus in my books. Not that it bothers me, because I always end up kind of picking up whatever kick up I get and pressing it back on my lids, but it's a little bit annoying, to be honest. It's very subtle. Very, very subtle. Okay, let's try Bisque now. It's like a cool toned, slightly pastel mauve. I usually don't reach for shades like these. I'm afraid of cool tones, that they're gonna make it look like I have dark circles. So that didn't seem to do much. Let's try Brick. Okay, these are picking up fine on the brush. Let me zoom you guys in closer. Yeah, that color has a lot of pigmentation. Whoa, okay, clean our brush. Blend that out. Yeah, okay, it's blending out nicely. Can you guys see that? Of course, I haven't tried the Huda palette on my lids, so I don't know how that works. When I pick up a smaller brush, pick up Maroon? What is it called? Maroon. Oh, maroon. Okay, I'm picking up this maroon shade rather. It's called maroon. These shadows are blending out really, really well. I'm very impressed, to be honest. Looking in the viewfinder, I have a different light today and basically a different tripod and the whole setup. So one great thing I think about this palette is that the Huda Beauty palette has 2 pressed glitters in it. I hate the pressed glitter that's in the Desert Dusk palette, and there are 2 in here which would have driven me nuts. They're called Excite and Infatuated. If you are okay with those, you know, you might like that, but in this case they have switched the glitters to just shimmers, which is pretty cool, I would say. So instead of the glitters, those are the 2 shades that we get. Not bad. So let's also swatch the 4 almost duochrome that are supposed to be in the Huda palette, called Crave, Fantasy, Daydream, and Charmed. And here they are called Chrome, Rosy, Blink, okay, and Amber or Umber, UMB. Yeah. Rosy looks a bit not chunky, but the rest pretty much seem well. So these 3 are pretty kind of glittery, chunky, very similar to the Huda Beauty shadows that I remember. However, I feel like the Huda shadows are definitely better in terms of texture and how they're applying. These seem to be applying a little bit sheer, if you can see. But they're beautiful. They're beautiful. So instead of 4 chunky shimmers and 2 pressed glitters in the Nude palette, you get 3 chunky shimmers and 3 kind of normal shimmers. This is not chunky, but it's still significantly high shine, I would say. I'm gonna try Chrome and Gold, and maybe even Dubai today. I'm gonna start off with Gold. Let's see how it picks up on the brush. I'm picking like a narrow, flat smudger. I'm gonna try it dry first. This is looking pretty weak. I'm gonna try it with my finger. Over the finger, it's looking very pretty. Yeah, it's applying very good with your finger. I, as you guys know, am not a fan of finger applications. This is, I think, going to turn out to be a super weird look. I'm kind of not paying attention to the color combinations. And then I'm gonna pick up Chrome with my finger as well and just kind of dab it in the middle. This is like crazy, crazy pigmented. What do you guys think? Looks great, I think. Okay, now on the other eye, I'm gonna try wetting my brush and see. So I'm gonna pick up the shadow and then just use my Mario Badescu spray. No, let me try switching the brushes. So I'm gonna get this Japanese brush, picking gold. This one picked up quite a bit of it. this brush seems to be doing an even better job just applying dry than my fingers. Let's try wetting it. The way it's picking up is reminding me of the Shimmer from the Subculture palette. I'm gonna again use my Mario Badescu spray. Okay, let me take Chrome on the same brush. I'm going to intensify maroon a bit on my outer V. I tried picking up gold on this brush just now, and yeah, it's looking completely different. Look at that. What? I'm going to take a teeny tiny pencil brush and apply umber in my inner corner. Now this is pretty much to just try out the shadows. So I'm going to take clay on my lower lash line. So this is the final look. I'm absolutely loving it. I think the shimmers are looking very pretty and very wet. I'm absolutely loving this look. What do you guys think? Let's quickly do some swatches. Let's swatch the concealer. I wonder if the concealer is going to dry down as time passes, and that can happen. But at least right now, it's very nice. It's just enough creamy and it blends out nicely. It has a good pigmentation, as you can see. It's not oily or sticky at all. Okay, so now let's go row by row. Khaki, chrome, peachy, rosy. Peachy is not showing up. Let's do a second swatch and see. So peachy is, yeah, not that great, but it worked out nicely, I think, with the brush. Maroon, it's spelled M-A-R-R-O-N, so I'm calling it that. Okay, and brick. When I just wiped it with a dry paper towel, I feel like besides maroon and a teensy bit of the rosy maybe is hanging out, but other shadows are wiped away. So the second row is bisque. This is like a light dusty mauve, blink, scarlet, and Dubai. And then there is gold and passion. So that's the second row. I just wiped it. Everything except maybe the shimmers are slightly hanging around, but yeah, everything is pretty much gone. Then for the last row, we have the concealer first, camel, cocoa, and clay, amber, or umber rather, and raw. So there isn't too much variety, I would say, in the last row. Cocoa and clay are not very distinct. Clay is a teensy bit more red tinged. Cocoa is more cool toned. So just wiped it. We are getting a lot of residue in this case. So I guess these shadows are going to kind of hang on longer than the previous shadows. Alright, so I overall feel like the shadows are swatching really well. I'm absolutely loving the look that I was able to get today. I have set it using the MAC Fix Plus because I feel like we need to do a wear test, because if an eyeshadow just looks good when you apply it and looks like crap in 2 hours, it is useless. So, you know, I think we'll do a wear test and see how these shadows last. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And I'll see you guys in a few hours. Alright guys, so it's been, I think, 6 hours or more since I did the makeup. It took me much longer to get back home. I'm still wearing my jacket because I'm a little bit cold. Anyways, looking at the eye makeup, I think it still looks decent. I don't see much fading. Wherever I had applied the glittery shadow with my fingers, that seems to have stuck on better than where I tried to use the brush. I mean, it's still there. I don't know if you can see it. It's still there, but it's more dispersed. Whereas where I had used my finger, it's more concentrated, more like, you know, right in the middle. So I would say with those glittery, more chunkier shadows, definitely go with your finger. If you are going to use a brush, definitely wet your brush. I am seeing a little bit of, you know, the chunks on my face here and there. But if you guys have seen my previous videos where I have done looks with chunkier shadows from different brands, this is nothing, okay? This is much lesser than the other brands. So I'm not gonna fault this palette for that. What are those other chunks on my face? Oh yeah, that's from the tinsel. Yes, I did buy some other things for the tree that is still to arrive tomorrow. Anyways, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with this palette. In terms of like the chunkier shadows, I feel like this palette delivers pretty well. I'm glad that it has replaced the pressed glitter with something that I find personally more usable. I don't want to call this palette a dupe because they have kind of done a pretty blatant copy of the Nude palette. So Huda is the original designer. If you can, you know, afford to spend those $65, and if you feel like it justifies the cost for you, like you are someone who would wear those kind of really mild shades really often, then you know it totally makes sense. If not, I would say this $10 option is perfect for me. All right, thank you again for joining me. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
All right.